I've spent about 30 hours or so playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, thanks to Ubisoft for sending me an early copy, so here are some tips and tricks that I thought would be useful to know. No spoilers, just simple stuff. Dude, the biggest thing that threw me off for the longest time while I was looking for specific resources, like wine, rum barrels, aloe, sugar, spice, and everything nice, all of these trade goods are linked to that region or section of the map, both on sea and on land. The loot that you find floating around, the resources that ships are carrying, as well as things like the containers that you'll find on the beaches of the islands in that region. So if you can't find the resource or trade good that you need, go to a different section of the map, like rum barrels and sugar are up towards the top right-hand corner of the map. A really important stat on each weapon that you might not realize is as important as it is the takedown limit. The takedown stat indicates how long of a chain takedown that weapon can perform. There are various different ways to do a takedown, but a chain takedown is done after a perfect parry. After you do a perfect parry, which is the Q key on PC, I think it's L1 on controller, and doing that completely drops the defense meter of that enemy. Now you can do a takedown, and afterwards, it's actually a pretty long time that you can go between enemies, but the next enemy you approach, you should be able to perform another takedown. I think the minimum is 2. You always at least can take down 2 people with the weapon, and there's some swords out there that'll give you 4. Plus, like you see in the gameplay there, using your pistol completely breaks the enemy's defense, opening them up for another takedown, kind of making it feel like you're extending your chain takedown limit. By the way, you can sprint or dodge roll in between chain takedowns, and it won't interrupt it or stop you from doing the next one. Since parrying is very important in this game and takedowns are like the easiest way to go about combat, especially if you've got long chain takedowns, this is a super important stat to look at when choosing your weapons. It's generally not really worth it to just slash away and try to whittle down their defense meter with just normal attacks, but with something like the Cutlass's heavy attacks, some of these just melt through their defense meter. So yeah, if you didn't realize, each weapon type has a different type of heavy attack. The rapier will pierce through enemies, more focused on a single target, and I swear the rapiers also seem to swing faster. You would think the parry window on the rapier might be a little higher. If it is, I haven't noticed. The game also doesn't mention anything about that, but I haven't really noticed an increased window. The Cutlass, like I said, is a wide area attack hitting multiple enemies, while still simultaneously dealing a ton of damage, and the pistol swords in the remake actually function as pistol swords now. All you have to do is hold the attack button to do a heavy attack, and you shoot the pistol. These can be really dang strong. They just don't always feel super accurate, and while you're shooting the sword pistol, you're kind of just left there out in the open. But if you learn the timing and how to use them, I mean, it's really not hard, and they're pretty strong. But there are multiple ways to break the defense meter super fast or just instantly destroy it. The easiest way is the pistol. Even a quick shot just destroys the defense of any enemy, including the brute enemies, any special enemy type. Just a quick shot and it's gone. Now you can do a takedown. In the remake, you can actually manually kick now. It doesn't just happen when you're near a ledge. And this can also be super strong. Enemies do predict when you're spamming the same attack. They will counter it if you just go around kicking them. Except for on ships and like the big battles, it seems like they're a lot less focused, so they're not able to guess your attacks sometimes, it seems like. But kicking enemies into any kind of object or wall opens them up for a kick takedown. It is crazy strong. If there's anything nearby, you just kick them, now you can take them down. The only trick is, like I said, sometimes they'll guess when you're gonna kick, so you just want to mix it into a combo, start attacking, and then kick. Just using a single sword attack and then kicking actually tends to work out the best. There's also perfect dodge. You just dodge right before an attack hits, and then press, not hold, the attack button, R1 or left click on PC, and your attack will deal triple damage. If multiple enemies are nearby, sometimes they get caught in that too, and you deal triple damage to every single one of them. The enemy's defense is like their posture. It goes away whenever they're not ready to block, or they're off balance, or getting ready to attack. So you can actually completely bypass their defense by just attacking right before they do, or right after their attack. Like I said, the rapier feels like the fastest swinging weapon, and it feels super easy to do with it. If you have the HUD on, you'll see the yellow bar above their health just disappear. That's when their defenses are down, and any attack you do is only dealing health damage. When they're getting ready to attack or already swinging, you won't necessarily be able to see that defense meter disappear, but your attacks are still ignoring it since they're not defending. If you want to sheathe your weapons, put away your swords, you can sheathe them by just holding the T key on PC or by holding left on the D-pad on controller. You have to be out of combat if you want to do this though, otherwise it forces you to have your weapons out. If you aim in with L2 or right click to observe, this lets you pretty much see any nearby lootable item like containers, chests, and pretty much anything. But if you just hold observe and aim onto or close by those glowing gold or silver marks, you'll hear a little glimmer sound, and now those will remain on your screen after letting go of observe, so you don't have to keep clicking on it. Collectibles like chests and secrets for that location will highlight silver, and other lootable containers or items will generally glow gold. If it's like a green-blue, it's mission related. Eagle vision will let you see enemies through walls as well as anything that you can use for parkour. But if you want to mark or tag enemies so that you can still see them after disabling eagle vision, just make sure you observe them and you'll easily tag everyone by just looking at them. On PC, you hold the V key for eagle vision. On controller, I'm pretty sure it's just R3. You can even use it while hunting, which makes hunting a lot easier. If you see a hunting location on the map and you're close by, just use eagle vision and you'll see the animal right there glowing red. By the way, the hunting in here is only an all-out battle if you choose for it to be. You can assassinate seemingly any animal, including jaguars. Jaguars just detect you a lot easier, so you want to hit them from above or sit in tall grass and wait for them to walk over. You can even whistle for them to come over. And they will, they're just going to be slightly more alerted, so they'll sometimes still detect you even though you're not moving a muscle if you don't assassinate them fast enough. Also, you've got your pistols. Headshots do matter, so hitting a headshot does a lot more damage. Quick shots are better for smaller things like rabbits, so you don't have to sit there and manually aim on them. And you can one-shot some of the animals, it just depends on what animal it is and how strong your pistol is. The wild boars seem to have some of the most health. They have the thicker skin, so it takes more shots. But the best weapon for hunting would be the blowpipe, because you can either use berserk darts or sleep darts, either one of those work. But the sleep darts, which you unlock right away when you unlock the blowpipe, are the best things to use, because it puts the animal to sleep, and then you can just assassinate them. This helps a ton because using your pistols scares any of the animals in the nearby area away. Things like deers will just run away, but hunting monkeys can be a little tedious because these guys will completely flee the area and be gone. And it does not take them long to do that, they just vanish. So sleep darts are like the #1 thing to use for hunting. It works on any animal you can think of, jaguars, crocodiles, monkeys, whatever. By the way, you unlock the blowpipe still in sequence 4 during the overrun and outnumbered story mission. In the original Black Flag, you were able to fast travel right from the start of the game by just climbing a viewpoint and synchronizing, and now that viewpoint can be used as a fast travel point on the map. Well, it still works that way, except now you have to unlock fast travel before you can do that. All you have to do, though, is follow the story. After completing the first couple of sequences and getting to the quest called Prizes and Plunder, which I believe takes place towards the beginning of sequence 3, you will unlock the ability to fast travel. And in the remake, you don't just have the ability to fast travel to the viewpoints, but if you're not fully zoomed into the map and slightly zoomed out to where you can see the locations icon, which you can hover over to see all of the collectibles, you can actually fast travel to that as well, which means you don't have to actually go onto each piece of land and find a viewpoint to fast travel to that location anymore. You just have to get close enough to where you discover that location on the map, and now you can fast travel there. Sometimes you can just do that by driving by on your ship, and other times you might have to jump off of your ship and just come up slightly onto land to discover it. Plus, don't forget, if you zoom in all the way on the Great Inagua Island where your hideout is, you can fast travel straight to the manor where you'll spawn inside, right in front of your money collection chest. And you can fast travel straight to your ship now, which is insanely helpful. Rowboats still do exist, and at first I thought they were kind of pointless because you can just fast travel to your ship now, but if you happen to be right next to a rowboat, it's always worth using since actually opening up your map and then fast traveling to your ship takes longer since it like fully reloads the game. The rowboat is almost instantaneous. And remember, when you're steering your ship, it gives you these options down at the bottom of the screen, where if you have any waypoint set or you're tracking some type of mission, you can follow the path to your waypoint. On PC, you do that by holding Z, and then if you hold the E key, you can completely allow the ship to steer itself and auto-sail, or follow C I think it's called, so that your ship just follows that path. You do have to somewhat be careful if you have a bounty and you're wanted, or a storm comes along and destroys your ship, or if you're tracking one of the rare locations that you're not allowed at all that has ships outside guarding it. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can destroy your ship while you're doing this, so just make sure you save. If you're doing this and you want to plan a route, you have to plan it backwards. So if I want to go to this point first, I need to mark it last. That might seem obvious, but if you desynchronize or reload the game, it does the opposite and sends you to like the first marked location and completely just messes up the order. So if you're not paying attention, you'll end up at an entirely different location. If you make any stops or have to reload the game, just create the path that you follow and then open up the map to double check that you're actually going where you want to go. Something awesome that you can do in the remake is skip and pass time. To pass time, you just hold the X key or right on the D-pad for a controller, and a lot of the time it just won't work, either because you're in a restricted zone or in combat or just somewhere that it doesn't want to allow you to sit because there's not enough room or whatever. It seems like there's a million different reasons. Just go to a spot without a dock or any structure nearby. Generally, the beach works the best and has no issues as long as you're not in a restricted area where it shows a red bar under the compass. If you're wondering how to get the first treasure map in Cape Bonavista, you can't get it at the start of the game. You'll see the icon on the map after using the nearby viewpoint, but you can't actually get the treasure map yet if you're here for the first time. You have to backtrack later on after unlocking fast travel. So you might have noticed these like crazy glowing effects that enemies have, as well as Edward has when he's attacking enemies. They're like these cartoonish glowing sparking effects. It even happens on kicks. They're just giant glares of light. I hated it at first, but it has kind of grown on me somewhat. I saw a lot of people wondering if you could turn this off, and luckily you can. It's just easy to miss that you can even do this in the settings. I wish you could make it so that the effects are just more minimal, or if they would just make these less noticeable, but this is the next best thing if these effects annoy you. When you first launch the game, it gives you some HUD options, but you won't see the entire customized HUD options list until actually starting the game and going into these settings yourself. So pause the game, go to options, and then click the interfaces tab, scroll down to the HUD section, and under the HUD preset, you can click HUD VFX customization. Click that and scroll to the very bottom section called Hero. Down towards the bottom here, you'll find combat effects and parry effects. Now I typically leave the parry effects alone, just leave that on because they are not nearly as obnoxious looking, but combat effects are the biggest thing that make all of the light up particles and glare effects just go away. The downside is that you will no longer see most of your incoming attacks light up. And at first I was kind of wary of this, but I mean, it's fine. I actually thought it made the gameplay feel a lot better because it is just way too easy to parry with these giant glowing effects in the game. Now it makes you actually kind of pay attention. Plus you can still see the unblockable attacks. Same with gunshots. Anything that glows red will still exist if you have this setting off. Oh yeah, when starting your game, where it asks you about the HUD settings, minimal feels like the best way to go, but I did wish I would have stayed at the default full HUD at first, because the minimal gets rid of some things that you wouldn't have even noticed were there before, like the buttons that you press for auto sail. Didn't even realize this was a thing at first. Or the fact that you could leave your ship in the open water by holding the button that slows down your ship, like the S key on PC. I totally did not realize I could leave my ship in the open ocean. And just a lot of the key or button inputs that you can see at the bottom of the screen. There's a lot more, but I would just definitely go with the default HUD at first, then after the first couple of hours, start to customize it, or select the overall HUD to minimal. Like also, after your first few hours playing, go into your settings and turn off the tutorial pop-ups. These are helpful at first, so you don't miss obvious things, but they just start to get really repetitive and stay on the screen for way too long to where I don't even care if it's giving me useful information anymore. If you open up your inventory or any menu really on PC, you can even just click F1 during your gameplay, but up at the top left corner of a menu, you can open up the Animus hub. Just don't forget to activate the Rift challenges here, the project. Right now there's only one actual Black Flag Resynced project that you can do in the game, but make sure you actually start it. You progress through the project by collecting the purple Animus shards. Part of what you earn in these Animus projects are Animus keys. You can find these in the open world as well. They're one of the things that glow silver in Observe mode, and these will allow you to purchase exclusive items within the Animus hub, like Connor's outfit from Assassin's Creed 3, which is a legendary outfit, and some other legendary weapons like Ezio or Altair's swords. But like I said, doing these corrupted challenges progresses the reward tiers here and the projects page, so that you get those credits plus other legendary swords and pistols, which are some of the best weapons in the game. The Animus pistol that you unlock here ricochets to other enemies when you shoot them, so if you're interested in getting any of these, you should pay attention and do the Rift challenges, since that is the fastest way to progress in the projects. You also progress the project by just playing the game, following the story, and doing some of these side activities, which you can see in the Synchronize tab. Completing these little quests will also reward you with the Animus shards, but you're going to earn them the fastest if you're also doing these anomalies to complete your challenges and little Rift quests. But if you're wondering how to actually do them, where are they? You can't find them on the map. You know, you can't see the corrupted ship, convoy, chest, entity, or any of the anomalies, whatever corrupted thing it's asking for. You also just have to progress the story. You won't unlock the ability to do these until after sequence 3. From there, you can just open up the map, click on your mission log, and it'll show you all of their locations right there. And that's the thing. I know this is a boring tip, but I recommend mainly focusing on the story early on, at least until after sequence 3 or 4. This is where you've got a lot of the items and things you'll want to feel better exploring around. A lot more of the activities and open world opens up after sequence 3. You'll have your hideout, all the upgrades you're able to make to it and your ship, exclusive traders there, side missions, assassin contracts, Templar hunts, naval contracts, and from there you should be able to freely explore the entire map. And plus, like I said, then you'll get the corrupted Animus anomaly challenges, the rope dart, pretty much everything. There are things that come even later in the story, but it's just small stuff. After sequence 4, you'll have even more to do, but sequence 3 is fine. I just recommend before going exploring all out, get to around after sequence 3. Oh yeah, plus by then you should also have the officer locations marked on your map, which you can open up the map, and then over on the top right hand side, this is like your actual mission log. You don't have a separate menu that shows quests and missions, they're just right here on the map. But you'll be able to locate your first 2 officers, and these officers each give different abilities, so I highly recommend doing these as soon as possible. The initial quests for these are not that long. The officers do have follow-up quests later on, but just getting the officer does not take that long at all. I definitely recommend doing these as soon as possible to make ship combat a little easier. That kind of decides the pace of your game, is how fast you can level up your ship. That'll be how you start to earn more money, get a lot of the resources that you need for traders, and do anything that really requires a ship. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Leave a like and subscribe for more Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced videos. The original Black Flag is my favorite Assassin's Creed game, and the remake has been a ton of fun to play, so I'll definitely have more videos up soon, including like a more advanced tips video. So yeah, see ya.